Am I on? Oh, I'm on one right now. Yo, what's up, guys? This is Justin. Gonna thank you guys for making me part of your day. I haven't really gotten the correct distance away from the camera to make it look good. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to look good. I'm trying to put these different angles in here, trying to get the right. I just don't want to look fat. That's the only thing I'm concerned with right now. And I don't want to look like a noob doing this. So this is gonna be for the teachers out there. So all my brothers and sisters in the industry right now, teaching and doing your thing, I salute you. Thank you very much. So we're going to talk about some attributes for teachers, new teachers. A lot of my stuff a lot of my advice goes to new teachers because veterans get it. Because I'm a rookie and a vet, but the vets get it. They know what's up. So we're going to talk about the most overrated, I guess, attribute for a teacher. The most overrated attribute, or most. Maybe I'll bring more than one, okay? But I can think of one that's really overrated. So when you're a teacher, obviously your job will consist of a lot of different duties, right? But basically it's going to be, you teach kids how to do whatever the content is, and you kind of guide them through and hope they do well. And you hope they achieve the standards that the state requires. That's basically what your job is, right? That's what the job on paper is, but that's not exactly what the job entails, okay? I'm going to give you the most overrated attribute, in my opinion, okay? Because it's my opinion, right? It's not fact. It's all hypothetical, right? But I'll tell you how overrated this is, right? The most overrated attribute for any teacher is content knowledge, okay? Because, obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know that I teach the math. I put it down on math, right? So if there's a teacher that's really exceptionally just genius level at math, it doesn't matter because in teaching in general at a high school level, the highest level of math, man, I'm getting stuffed up. I don't even know what's going on. I don't have allergies. I think it's this part of my house because I never come. As you can tell, the dust that's on the blinds right there. Yeah, you see that? I have to get that. I might have to get the peoples on it. But when I'm talking about content knowledge, is this. The highest level of whatever content you have isn't even difficult for like me. Well, I'm going to use math as an example, right? The highest level of math is like calculus 2. No, it's calculus 1. They don't even take calculus 2 in high school. They might, but I don't think they can. Maybe? I don't know. But either way, calculus 2 isn't, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's not difficult for somebody like me or somebody like a math teacher, okay? Or a genuine, like an actual math teacher that, that majored in math. I'm not talking about a PE teacher that did it, but calculus in general, it's just tedious is what it is. So it's not difficult. It's not a difficult thing to learn. And a lot of the things that you learn in math as an undergraduate, like the math classes that I take were, if I showed you a page out of the book that I have, you wouldn't even be able to read it. And here's the thing, I wouldn't be able to read it either because it's just all symbols and sets. Okay, so content knowledge, and I've had two experiences with this. All right, I actually had to replace one of these. I was the replacement. I was the one they brought in. You know what I mean? I was the backup QB. Actually, now I'm not a backup. I ain't nobody's backup. First of all, that was wrong. I shouldn't have said it. I was the guy they drafted #1 overall to get this guy out of there, right? But anyways, here's what happened. This guy, he was a pretty big time engineer. I don't know about big time engineer. He was just an engineer at HP. So, an HP, Hewlett Packard, for those that don't know, HP is kind of a big deal, right? Big company, right? So this guy, he was a retired dude, older guy, and they brought him in, and he was clearly he had patents. He had patents through HP, so clearly he knew a lot of stuff, right? But they brought me in. They were scouting me out. They were looking at my intangibles. They got me running the 40 time, like the math 40 time, right? And they're like, man, this guy's ratings off the charts, right? And this dude just knows how to win. So they brought me in, right? They brought me in for an interview in spring. So this dude was still teaching. Can you believe that? Administration was like, hey man, we're gonna bring in a guy right now, okay? And that's kind of weird, but I don't know. From what I've heard, he wasn't very good. He just couldn't handle it, right? So what happened was that they brought me in, and this is what's cool about being about having options, because at the time I was actually teaching at a middle school, right? And I was just like, I'm gonna keep my options open. I'm gonna continue going to school, and they knew that I was effective at teaching, whatever. Like they knew teaching wasn't easy for me, but it wasn't difficult for me, right? So they brought me in, and it's good to be wanted because they're like, hey, you can get whatever you want if you just come in and replace this guy. And I was like, all right, and I was able to dictate my terms, which that's kind of unheard of in teaching. Like you don't go into school and you don't go in saying like, yo, I want to do this, this, and this is how it's going to be done. And it wasn't like I was, my demands weren't like out of control. I was just like, hey man, I want to get, I want to do some programs with this and so on. And they're like, yeah, you can do that. That's fine. So when we had that, we brought him in. This guy was, he wasn't required back. It was funny because I got his classroom and the dude just left, which is really weird. So he did not take anything with him. You understand what I'm saying? He never took like any person. Like I saw pictures of his wife and kids. Like he left that kind of stuff. He left his glasses there. It was really weird. It was not an amicable split, I don't think. And that should have been a red flag. But I just think he just couldn't do it. And so the point I was making was that this guy is like patent level, worked at HP, retired engineer, right? So, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do junior level math. You know what I mean? So they had to call him the closer to get it done. You know what I'm saying? Because I get the job done. There ain't another teacher that can cover for me, right? But that's the most overrated attribute. Other overrated attributes, I can't really think of any right now. I can think of a lot of underrated ones, but let me think about it. Let me see if I can get one more overrated one to make this video a little bit shorter. Skip it. I'll think of it next time. But an underrated attribute, or the most underrated attribute for teachers out there, it's not even close. It's the most important and it's the most underrated, most underrated attribute that you study in teacher school is going to be classroom management. Okay? Classroom management is basically, for the non-educators educators out there, if you're in a management position, you know exactly what this is, even though you may not be an educator. Classroom management is the most underrated attribute of any teacher. You can see it. It's basically when you run a classroom, how your classrooms run, what expectations, do the students do what you say? Okay? There's actually process and, there's some psychology in there, but psychology is overrated in education too. But classroom management, here's kind of my style. My classroom management was always, that was you knew what was up if you're in my classroom. So that was always, the biggest strength that I had, okay? Now, my weaknesses are probably, I wasn't very personable with a lot of kids. But here's the thing about classroom management, though, is that if you're strong at classroom management, you can still have a successful class if you're weak in other areas. But here's the thing that you might not know. If you have weak classroom management, you can be good at a lot of other things and still not run a successful classroom. Okay? Because if you think about the hierarchy of needs of a human in general, they need to feel safe before they can feel anything else. It goes up and down like a pyramid, right? So it's kind of like my primal needs is if I'm hungry, I'm gonna go find something to eat. If you want me to learn and I'm hungry, I can kind of will myself into it, but I'm really just hungry, right? So in a classroom, if you're fighting, if you're worried about, if you're gonna get beat up, or you're worried about how you're gonna be treated, or you're worried about somebody, if you're worried about the environment that you're in, you can't learn. Learning is so much on the higher level that if you don't have the bottom level, it's just not gonna work. Okay, so classroom management, I can get some tips on that too, but I'm gonna keep this video short. So recapping, most overrated. I'll actually tell you, there was another guy that came in. I think he was a retired teacher. He might have been a retired teacher actually. He was either a retired teacher or he was an engineer too, I think. And they gave him the worst classes, and I was like I knew this was gonna happen, and I was like, why would you give a guy like that the worst classes, right? And he quit. He quit in the middle of the year. He just said I couldn't do it, and it was strange to me because these kids were really, they weren't the best, and when I say that, that's being nice about it, and these kids ended up being I think a lot of them are in jail now. That's the type of kid they put them with. But this guy wanted to be like, you know, he wanted to basically teach all college level, which that wasn't going to happen, right? But he just didn't have the classroom management to do that, or the desire to you know, have a strict classroom management ability to do that. Okay, our school ended up calling in the closer from another state, and if you watch my Call of Duty videos, you know he's in there too, right? So other than that, most overrated content knowledge, most underrated classroom management. So if you guys have any tips in this section, please leave them down. If you like the video, please thumbs up, share it, retweet it. It just helped me out. So other than that, I've been Justin. I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.